and welcome to Connected Conversations for Creatives, a place where creatives like you can learn, grow, and connect. I'm your host, Jennifer Carr. Writing is not just about words on a page. It's about unleashing your inner creativity. Our words hold a profound truth that transcends the act of putting pen to paper or fingers to a keyboard. They remind us that writing is a magical process that goes beyond the mere construction of sentences and paragraphs. Words are a gateway to our imagination, a vehicle for self-expression, and a canvas with which we paint the landscapes of our innermost worlds. When we sit down to write, we embark on a journey into the depths of our minds. We tap into the wellspring of our thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Each word we choose is a brushstroke that brings our inner world to life, whether we're crafting a poem that captures the raw beauty of nature, or spinning a gripping tale of adventure and intrigue, or sharing our personal reflections on life's challenges. We are engaging in an act of creation. We all have a story within us just waiting to be told. But maybe you've been hesitant, unsure of where to start or how to navigate the daunting world of writing and publishing. Fortunately for you, today's guest has a wealth of knowledge to share with us. He's literally written the book that can be your roadmap for unlocking your writing potential. His work walks the reader through the process of conceptualizing a book, turning that spark of an idea into a full-fledged manuscript, and from battling writer's block to finding your unique voice, you'll discover the secrets to becoming a wordsmith and so much more. Joseph M. Lenard is a blogger, podcaster, and award-winning author whose book, Terror Strikes, Coming Soon to a City Near You, landed #1 spot on Amazon's bestseller list. And I am so glad to be able to welcome him to today's show. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this. Yeah, I am Joseph M. Lenard. If you're seeing this on video as opposed to audio, you see my background. It looks French. It's not Lenard. It's Lenard without an O. It was Lenard Łaskowicz or whatever. It's Polish, actually, at one time, but it's Lenard now without an O. And there is a Joseph Lenard out of South Carolina who's also an author. So you need to remember, I am Joseph M. Lenard without an O. I've been writing since I was young. High school, at least for sure. My father was the creator and leader of the Polka Kings. So I didn't get into polka music. That's not what I wrote and recorded. But you know, I wrote and recorded music, but I never got a record deal. You know, times are different now. Now you just download it right on and sell your songs direct for 99 cents. Well, publishing is also different. But when I didn't get a record deal, I kept on, writing and publishing locally poetry, short stories, and novels, all those things. But Terror Strikes, Coming Soon to a City Near You was and remains my first internationally released piece. And as you said, thankfully, I hit Amazon #1 in 5 different categories. So, you hit it in one, oh, you got lucky. But I hit 5, so I'd like to at least tell myself I accomplished something, I hope. I mean, there are a lot of authors who will never, ever see #1 Amazon anything. So yeah, Terror Strikes, Coming Soon to a City Near You was my first internationally released book. And yes, it's about terrorism. I'm going to grab a note so I don't get it wrong. But we follow Martin, who's a Detroit newspaper man who decides to write a book on terrorism. So we're going to discuss writing today. I think most people understand the concept of a book within a book. Mm-hmm. And that's a tried and true writing method. And I use that. We follow Martin, Detroit newspaper man, going to write a book on terrorism. So yes, it's about that, but really it's about following him. So yes, it's about terrorism, but not a book about death, but life and living. Life over death, Hope Over Fear. And like I said, I'm reading this so I don't miss any pieces. It's on my website. Life Over Death, Hope Over Fear, Faith Over Despair, Love Over Hate, Good Over Evil, Individualism Over Collectivism, Freedom Over Tyranny, Family and Friends. And as you can see, we'll go into my other book, Why I'm Here, but there's a reason why that those are in threes, right? Life, comma, over death. Hope, comma, over fear. That's a marketing strategy employ, and of course, we'll get more into that. So that I would go on and do a lot of interviews for that book, right? And invariably, a lot of the hosts would say, why don't you come back and discuss how to write a book and get it published? So I'd say, no, I'm done with you. I already did one interview. No, I'm not going to say that, right? Duh. So yeah, I went back. And after a dozen, 2 dozen of those interviews, I went on Amazon and looked, and sure enough, there's a billion books how to put your book on Amazon, but nothing like how to write a book and get it published, hints, tips, and techniques. Therefore, I wrote it. And I even use some of my hints, tips, and techniques that are in the book to write the book in 1 month's time, from concept to publication, a month and a half. But yeah, how to write a book and get it published, hints, tips, and techniques was born to take people from concept to the writing. There's a chapter on character development. There's a chapter on scene development, but this is not just about fiction. If you're writing nonfiction, this can also help you. And publishing, what realistically are your options? Traditional publishing house, very slim. But if it happens, go with it. All right. Then there's what they call self-publishing. But there are vanity presses, and there are what I call assisted publishing, like McHenry Press, Illumify Media, that I went through, and I talk about in the book. I mention a few others too, as I want to be realistic of what are your options, and then don't take my word for anything. I want you to do further research on your own. This is meant to get you going. After publishing, now what? You're not done, right? You've got to come on shows like this to promote your product, because thousands of books come out every week because of self-publishing, assisted publishing. Some people indeed completely self-publish direct onto Amazon, and that's the only place their book goes. I want you to get your book in every bookstore, not just on Amazon. But that's an option. If your budget doesn't allow for more, that's an option. You can do it not free, but for under $1,000 is realistic, or 5,000, or 10,000, or 30,000. Whatever your budget, what are your realistic options? And then again, like I said, post-publication, marketing, promotion, reviews. If you've got a thin skin, you got to get a thicker skin, because not everybody's going to like you personally.
Yep.
There will be those, and I have them, write negative reviews. I know them. I see them on social media. I at J. Lenard Detroit on 15 different social media platforms. And there might be some honest negative reviews. Okay? Right? You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
That's right.
Don't take that personally. Don't get offended.
Yes. Well, some of the most popular celebrities, when they're on like SNL and other entertainment shows and that kind of thing, the host will have them read negative tweets and negative things that are said about them, because it's hilarious, because you're going, you don't know me, you don't know my work, you clearly haven't nothing to do with me, any other way except what you see through your screen. Like, so, sometimes people just like to voice those opinions because it gets them attention,
Yeah,
even if,
right. Virtue
exactly.
signaling online, or again, yeah, making an attack, hitting up, right? They're
Yes.
trying to take a swipe at somebody up here in hopes that then their thing blows up and helps lift them up, get them attention.
Yeah. Yes. And so you have to remember, and it's never anything that you set out for. You don't want negative reviews, but you can learn from those negative reviews, even if it's, somebody's criticizing how many commas you use. Okay, well, next time, maybe we use a better editor who goes through and checks our commas. You can use some of those negative reviews to make your writing better. So don't take it personally, because like I said, they may not know you. Now, if they do know you personally, that might be a different story you need to address elsewhere. But for the most part, your readers don't know you as a person. They don't know you as an author. So use what they have to say to make yourself better, so that next time they have nothing else to say about you.
Yeah, and that leads to some very important points. Now, as to the reviews itself, right? One-offs here and there, 2 or 3 that are similar. Again, they may not have read the book. They may have read that person's review and is saying the same thing slightly different just to get their name on Amazon in a review. So, but if you got 100 talking about your grammar and your writing style, but again, don't take that personally either. Your writing style is your writing style. People will like it. People will love it. Some people will hate it. Move on, choose another author. Right now, there's Boker, is, of course, where people get their ISBNs. They are partnered with Incubate, INK, not the INC, Incubate, that has a service called Score It. Now, I ran Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You through their Score It system. They are the people who identified J.K. Rowling as the person who wrote another book under a pseudonym. And I don't remember the pseudonym or the book name right offhand, but it was selling. And of course, the publisher knew it was her. So they were pushing it. They knew her writing style would work with a lot of people. But people were saying, well, who is that? Who is that? Who is that? They exposed her because they ran her book through their system, which compares your writing, your style, against millions of books in print. And they said, this is J.K. Rowling. And of course, she had to finally admit it was her. So, but my book, they say, if you like Dean Koontz, you will love my writing style. And Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You. So, people will like you. Some people won't. Don't get upset. But where I was going to this is there's a chapter on editing. I highly suggest, spend money. Hire a good professional editor. At the end of the day, take your editors, most of their suggestions on, punctuation, right? So oh God, you got too many commas. Oh, you got too many run-on sentences. Yeah, take most of their advice. But at the end of the day, some things you say a certain way because they need to be said that way, and it is your style. Don't let them steal or erase your style. But please, I beg of you, have a professional editor. Pay for a professional editor. At least your first several books. Until you improve, you get better.
Well, and it never, and first of all, I love that you were saying all of these things, because this is literally almost verbatim what I say on a regular basis. Like if I'm going to offer up one piece of advice to, writers new on the scene, or even old writers who, have not taken this advice before, hire an editor who is not going to, take your work and turn it into their work. They're still going to leave your voice in your work, but they're going to make it better. It's going to be a better version of your voice. And so that is the one thing that is a platform that I will shout from until everybody hears it that needs to hear it. But yes, I'm so glad you're saying that, because that is so true. And it does. Yes, it costs money to have a good editor. And that is one thing. I don't care. You could have a cardboard box as your cover, in my opinion. If the inside is not good, you're not going to have repeat readers. Like if you don't have a good inside of your book, I mean, yes, you should make your cover look nice. You should. But if you want them to come back and pick up book 2 and book 3, make sure that inside is just as pretty as the outside.
Book 2, like mine, I'm not writing series. Right. Now, you've got a better chance of going to a traditional publisher if you're writing a series, and you've got book 1, book 2 written, and book 3 is in development. They'll buy into a series because that first book will help sell the second, and the second will help sell both, and the third will help sell all 3. There's better potential profits. But again, don't expect to be rich from this. If that's your motivation, it's the wrong motivation. Okay.
Yes.
And I do have an online article. If you're thinking about buying my book, here's some free tips and techniques online for free before buying my book. Go to tinyurl.com/write and publish supplement. tinyurl.com/write and publish supplement. I did an interview with someone. I don't remember the show, or I give them a shout out, but he has in his possession a first edition Stephen King book with errors in it. And he can afford many, many editors, and inevitably something may get forgotten. Like an editor caught, I share this, words, spell check and grammar check are not perfect. They are nowhere near as developed as they need to be. I've got an article for thelibertybeacon.com coming in November of 2023 called Gray Areas. The word gray in and of itself is a gray area. Do you mean the Oxford gray with an E, or the American gray with an A? And as long as you stick with E or A, you're fine. But if you accidentally put E here and A there, spell check, grammar check isn't going to catch that. You need an editor that hopefully will catch that, or it's a dichotomy. It's a problem, right?
It is.
So
it is.
There are things like that. Whole, W-H-O-L-E, H-O-L-E, completely different words, different meanings. In my Tokyo, Japan chapter, I opened an older version of my book on accident when I went to quote it online in social media, and it was misspelled W-H-O-L-E. And I'm in a panic. You're like, oh my God, did that get in the book? But no, we caught it, we fixed it, but that could very easily get passed, right? I am talking about not digging a hole, but looking at the whole picture, right? 2 different words, 2 different meanings. Spell check is never going to catch that. I hope it one day they'll get better, but they're not there yet. Like I said, for thelibertybeacon.com, November 2023, whole lot of gray areas will be part 1, and there will be a part 2. But I share that Merriam-Webster dictionary paragraph about gray, the different uses, They mean the same thing. They're both talking about the color, but one is English, UK English, Oxford English. The other is Americanized English. And the Microsoft Word AI spell and grammar checker was not even smart enough to say, hey, you're accidentally using two different spellings of the same word in the same sentence, let alone in different chapters.
Right. It assumes that you know what you want and that's what you put there. And so, and also the more you read it, the more attuned your brain becomes to what's already on the page. So you don't even notice anymore. So that's why you need another set or two of eyes on your work.
That's in my book. Well, if you're only editing your stuff and you're reading it, you accidentally at times see what you expect to be on the page versus what is actually on the page. So here's another free tip. Have Microsoft Word or some other program that's text to speech. Read it to you. And
Yes.
often you know, what? Wait a minute, back that up. What the heck was that? That's not what I meant to say.
Yes.
I need to fix that.
There have been many times. So I always send my first drafts to my husband and I'm like, all right, babe, it's your show. You go for it, because he has to listen to things. And so he'll have a document reader read it to him. And I can't listen to the computer voice. It drives me bonkers, but it works for him. And so he listens, and he has found more errors than I have. I'll have read it all the way through once and he'll pick it up and he'll be like, well, here you call he a she, and here, like just these little things. And I'm like, well, that changes the meaning of that sentence completely. So yeah, listening helps too, exactly, for sure. Right. I think also be careful who you ask for their feedback. I use beta readers and I love them, but I make sure that I am not too closely connected to them, because I want somebody who's not going to tell me what I want to hear. I want somebody who, they can think critically on their own, that kind of thing. And so when you ask for feedback, now, like with my husband, that's a different thing. That's a whole nother level of trust too, because I'm putting my work in his hands. But because I know he cares about and respects me and my work, that he's going to give me honest feedback, and he's going to do it in a way that's respectful and kind. Do I always want to hear it when he's like, you really shouldn't have killed that guy? But I'm like, well, you know what? It's my story. I'm sticking to it. But for the most part, we have these conversations, and I value his opinion. And whereas with beta readers,
the other thing is, now, are you talking about a series? They don't know that you may be doing something to set something up in the next book.
Right, that's true.
A foreshadow or a flashback. They don't fully know your motivation because there's another book that once read, well, oh, now I get it.
And that also helps when they give that feedback, because you're like, oh, I've done this correctly, because they're asking the questions that I need them to ask in order for the next part to come together. So, feedback is a fantastic thing. You do have to take it. Sometimes consider the source. This is always true with everything. Consider the source. And if you've asked for that feedback, then that means that you've probably, created some level of trust with the person, or they've agreed to provide feedback on a certain, basis, that kind of thing. But feedback is so helpful.
Yeah. And here's another reason why I insist you do some sort of story outline, even if it's just notes, because you may originally, I did this with Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You. Since it's historical fiction, or as I call it, faction, there are some historical things. The Toronto, Ontario chapter happened. The Madrid, Spain chapter happened. The Tokyo, Japan chapter happened. There are other things that are dramatized based on true events. Now, it was originally chronological, and I decided, well, that's not good, because then it locks the end of the book into a particular time frame. Now, that may not apply to your book directly, but think of it in general. What you write here, you may decide, I want to move there for whatever your reasons. Now, my book, I scrambled to be non-chronological because I want my book to be as relevant the day one I wrote it, the day after I wrote it, 10 years from now, 100 years from now. So it's not, the book has an expiration date. Now, your book, again, chapter 10 may have things in it that I decide I want to make it chapter 4. And without a good story outline, you might accidentally bring things over from chapter 10 to chapter 3 that give away things you're not supposed to give away in chapter 3. So with your story outline, you realize, oh, okay, part of chapter 10 becomes chapter 3. Other parts have to become part of chapter 11 then to stay in that part of the book.
Yes, you always you really have to think 10 steps ahead sometimes, especially if you think there will be a book 2, book 3, that kind of thing. You do have to stay
you're not doing
ahead.
checkers. You got to think chess. If you don't
That's right.
understand chess, you're going to have a little bit of a problem. You've got to think several moves ahead.
Yes, absolutely.
I am Joseph M. Lenard. Again, you can find me at josephmlenard.us or the book specific site, TerrorStrikes.info. All right, available everywhere. So go to a local bookshop if you still got one by you, and you can order any of my books, or you could go to TerrorStrikes.info/shop and get autographed copies direct from me if you're in the United States, because outside the US shipping is too much. If you're outside the US, still go to TerrorStrikes.info/shop. There's then a link to international sales that will help you find somebody other than Amazon if you want somebody other than Amazon to buy it in France or Germany or Australia. I do well through Booktopia. So there are, and those are other things regarding your marketing. You want to, you don't have to deal with them before your book's written, but bear in mind, at some point, you've got to consider those things.
Yes, definitely. And all of those links are going to be in the show notes. So it's super simple for everybody to just click one link and it'll take you right to where you need to go. And about your blog and your podcast, do you want to share where we can find those?
Well, yeah, I write for thelibertybeacon.com, said that before it's news.com. Thelibertybeacon.com, you could put Joseph M. Lenard in the search bar to find my pieces. Before it's news.com, it's my social media at J Lenard Detroit. And again, I'm on X as J Lenard Author because my J Lenard Detroit account is still suspended, even after Elon took over. But almost any platform you can retalk out of England at J Lenard Detroit, YouTube and Rumble channels at J Lenard Detroit. But before it's news.com at J Lenard Detroit, you can find my articles there. Constitutionalist Politics Podcast is housed at Buzzsprout. I certainly prefer you go to Buzzsprout, but yeah, it's on Spotify and iHeart, and it's carried on 15 platforms, so you should be able to find it anywhere.
Perfect. No, that's good. And again, that link will also be in the show notes. So, all right, before we end everything and call it a night, what is one piece of advice or encouragement if they walk away with hearing nothing else? What do you want the listeners to hear?
Go for it, right? But again, don't completely destroy your savings or go too far into debt. But if you've got a story in you, go for it, because there is a market for everything. But that's where marketing and promotion comes in, because just because you put a book out and there's like 1,000 a week that come out doesn't mean someone's going to automatically circumstantially stumble upon your book you've got to market it to let them know it's there and available to and for them. But yeah, if you've got a story in you, write what's in you. Just don't expect to get rich. And if you do get rich, bonus. Go for it is my advice.
That's great advice, because sometimes we are scared to just start, we don't know what the process looks like. Well, the point of the process is to share your story. So if you will write your story, then you can share your story. So yes,
and
go
how
for
to
it.
write a book and get it published, hints, tips, and techniques will help you do that. Whereas all those other books about, here's how to put it on Amazon, don't help you till you got a book.
That's true. So you read this book about how to write a book, and then you contact me and we talk about your book here on the Connected Conversations for Creatives podcast.